Well, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new season here in 2023 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Our first round comes at you from the crown and the jewels of the British motorsports. It is Silverstone as we get ready to get our season underway for this season. My name is Connery Maddock. I'm joined by the ever wonderful and ever present Peter Mackay for this particular broadcast. Peter, we are here. We're getting things reset, restarted for more Porsche action here in the Great Britain Esports Series.
Yeah, we're seeing the virtual and the real world coming closer and closer together as the years roll by. The Porsche Carrera Cup GB is one of the most hotly contested single-mate championships anywhere in the world, and we've transferred that to the virtual world with some of the very best talent that we have on these shores here in the United Kingdom, and I, for one, can't wait to see who is going to come out on top.
Yep, I can't wait to see it as well. Our last season was so competitive, and it was absolutely incredible action from round one all the way until the final round. But here's how things look here for this season. We'll start things off here at Silverstone on the Grand Prix layout. Then we head to Brands Hatch Indy for our shorter circuit of the season, and then we head to Snetterton, Alton Park. Then we head across the channel for one round. We head to Spa-Francorchamps for the round on the 12th of March, and then we head back to Silverstone for the national circuit on the 26th, and then we head to Donington Park, and then we have the finale at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit on the 30th of April. That's certainly one that you want to tune in for, as we hopefully will be deciding a champion at that particular round. Could happen earlier, of course, depending on how good of a season these drivers have. Here's a real bit of a recap of the format then. We've got open qualifying currently underway, lasting a total of 17 minutes. Drivers all out there on circuit together, trying to set the fastest time to set the grid for race number 1, which will be 25 minutes. Then we'll have a little bit of a 5-minute break in between. Then we'll get ourselves set for race number 2, which is another 25-minute race, but with the top 6 cars reversed. The point structure, as you can see on the bottom of your screen right there. Pro in race 1, 12 points to the race winner. You can see the breakdowns further down. It's points down to 8th place here. Same in race 2 as well, when we have the AM points in effect. So, bonus points, 1 for pole position and 1 for the fastest lap in each and every race as well. A little bit of a change here coming into this season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, in that we have 2 separate classes. We have a Pro class and we have the AM class. So more about that a little bit later on once we get ourselves into the qualifying session. But as we are getting ourselves set here, of course, we don't have any standings to speak of. It is the first round of the season here, and I'm certainly very excited to get going. But without further ado, let's see what this Silverstone circuit has to offer with a little bit of a track guide from Will Chadwick.
Hello, my name's William Chadwick, driver of the number 88 Team Fordzilla Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car, and welcome to the first track walk of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain season around Silverstone. This will be a tough opening round for all drivers around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. At nearly 6 kilometres, it has the famous high-speed sectors of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, and the tight technical infields of Club, Luffield and Village. There's plenty of variety for the drivers to challenge their skills this weekend. With that said, please come and join me now for a driver's eye view of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car. Now for a lap in the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car around Silverstone Grand Prix. In 5th gear down into turn number 1, Abbey, getting as close to the track limits as possible at turn number 1, and then keeping flat round Farm Curve. We then open up Village, turn number 3, as much as possible as we shift down 3 gears, getting as close to the sausage curbs on the inside as possible. Through the loop we go, keep it in 2nd, straightening out the exit to maximise traction, and then through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. Get a bit of time to reflect on what we're going to do next. Into Brooklands, turn number 6, you can see the BRDC building on the right. We open up the track on the right hand curving a little bit as we go down another 3 gears and using the track as much as possible on the inside. Luffield, we go down a gear for rotation, shifting up back to third for traction on the exit. We're now going to go through Woodcut, not really a corner in this car, but the next one is Copse. Very, very fast corner, up into 6th gear. We're going to shift down 2 before the apex, and it as close as possible, a little bit of a bump over the inside, and you need to keep 2 wheels on the curbing to remain inside track limits there on the exit. Up into 6th briefly as we head into the Maggots-Beckett's complex, down 1 gear for rotation, down 2 in the second part into 3rd. We hold 3rd through Beckett's and exit through Chapel, trying to maintain as maximum traction as possible and also not getting an off track. Down the Hanger straight, we head into turn 15, Stowe. Braking about 125 metres, down to 4th gear. We want to get as much on the inside curb as possible and just balance the power on the exit as it can get really loose there. And we head down into the club section. Turn 16, you want to get as close to the inside as possible, straighten yourself up for 17. You can see the wiper going up into 3rd, up into 4th for club, the final corner, and across the line. Thank you for joining me for the first track walk of the 2023 Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship. Silverstone always brings fantastic racing, and I'm sure it won't be any different tonight. Heading back over to your commentary team now. Here.
Well, thank you very much there, Will, from Team Fordzilla. So, I've already introduced Peter Mackay as part of the commentary team for this particular race, but there's one special guest that I haven't quite mentioned just yet. It is 2022 champion of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. It is Kevin Ellis Jr. Kevin, it's a pleasure to have you. It's going to be a little bit weird having you right here instead of on track.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, not being out on track. It's it's my first time ever really being in a commentary booth properly, so yeah, the itch is still there to be racing, and I'm sad I'm not going to be, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the action. This series has always been, my favourite, so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Silverstone is always a treat as far as this category of racing is concerned. Lots of overtaking opportunities, potentially going to be lots of action out there. Is that what you felt when you were driving it, and is that what you expect from these guys as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The competition is going to be fierce today. There's going to be a lot of pass opportunities, a lot of battling, and I'm really excited to see how this season goes. A few changes to the car since last year, so we'll see who can get on top of them the best.
Yeah, that's the important thing, Peter. This car has gone through a couple of changes since we last raced it in 2022, so that's going to be a thing that these drivers are going to have to try and get themselves to grips with over the course of this season. Hopefully, they've been doing a lot of pre-season prep to be able to make sure that they're comfortable with the car coming into this race at Silverstone, but it's never easy when these changes happen.
No, but that's quite similar to the real life Porsche Carrera Cup car as well. You're dealing with such fine margins because the cars are the same, albeit you can set them up how you like, but the cars themselves are the same. So you're always working for those tiny little shades of time all the time, and that only comes through extensive preparation. So the drivers who have really been putting the practice in are going to come to the top. And my sources tell me that our guest driver, Adam Smalley, the Porsche GP Junior, has been practicing very hard. And so we could see a surprise from our guest for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have Adam along for this race. I had the opportunity to meet him, speak with him in the prize-giving event that we had at the end of the 2022 season as well. So good to see him get himself stuck in. Speaking of drivers, though, let's have a look at who's going to be competing here today on our little on our Zoom call here. Everyone getting themselves their qualifying efforts underway. We've got about 12 minutes of qualifying left to go, so we're certainly in no rush here at the moment, but that time does come down quicker than you perhaps first think. But this is going to be a very, very exciting first race. We got a couple of new names up onto the timing screens. We also have a couple of old veterans as well getting themselves involved in this 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. In terms of the qualifying order at the moment, you've got Eric Grove getting himself provisional pole position at the moment with Will Chadwick, our creator of the track guide there in second place. That's how you know what he's talking about, with Scott Mokes there, top of the AM category there in third place on the starting grid here today. So this is the little change that we've made coming into this 2023 season, where we don't have everyone in the same class competing for necessarily the same points here. We've got two different categories, the pros and the AMs, and Scott Mokes, well, top of the AMs at the moment.
Yeah, looking very strong there as well in the top three overall. We see this in the Carrera Cup GB, where sometimes you can get the leaders in the Pro-Am class really mixing it up there overall. So that's fantastic stuff for Scott Mokes there in the number 7. But I think there's still a lot of quick laps to come in as Jack Sedgwick pings in his lap. He goes into 5th position, 201.997 for Jack. Kane Halliburton did a 201 flat in practice, so we could see some really hot times coming in the next few laps or so, as Josh Thompson, top of the timesheets, 201.1.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's Adam Smalley, the guest driver, the Porsche Junior drivers. We see a change at the very top of the field there. Leon Penn getting himself up into provisional pole position, but Smalley has been doing rather well here in this qualifying session. We've got Josh Malin going to the top of the order here, as well as track seems to be getting just a little bit faster with these quicker times, getting themselves posted here at the moment. And there's also the fact here that, Kevin, that you have to have friends out there on circuit, especially at a track such as this, where the draft is a bit more of an effect than at some others. Having someone or a group of people to run with is really going to help you qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely, Connery. You know, we found last season that strength in numbers was definitely the aim of the game with open qualifying. It's definitely a different dynamic as well when you're trying to set your qualifying lap with a car in front of you. It's a little bit different to what you're used to. You know, with every other event that you do, it's lone qualifying, you're by yourself, but this series really does bring it into its own, where you've got to qualify with other cars around. There's more distractions. There's more things that you need to take into account to get the perfect lap. So yeah, I think looking at where the times are stacking up at the minute, I think these guys a little bit further down, like Sebastian at the moment, and even Jamie Moon, they're probably still doing a little bit of tyre prep, maybe trying to get hooked up with guys, because of course Seb doesn't have any sort of teammates out there this season, so it'll be interesting to see how he manages this session.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little bit more on the Pro and the AM categories here, Peter, because, of course, we're given the current situation, we have actually two different point scoring methods for race 1 and race 2 for the pros. So race 1 actually is worth just that little bit more in terms of positions 1 through 4 here at the moment. Only by a couple of points here and there, but those are points that can really, really matter.
Yeah, and we've got 16 races in this championship, so 8 across 8 rounds, where you get a point for every fastest lap and a point for pole position as well. And, you know, it can really come down to the wire. I mean, we've seen so many times that Brands Hatch as being the arena for some incredible championship finales. And, yeah, I think these points are going to really matter over the course of the season, as Sebastian Job, 2 flat 0.6, goes 0.4 of a second quicker than Jamie Moon, as Kevin said, right up there in second position. The AM class pole position has changed. Car number 36, Gareth Higgins, 8th overall. He's moved up ahead of the number 7 of Scott Mokes. So it's hot and heavy in the AM class at the moment.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. Top place driver, like I mentioned, Higgins, down in 8th place here at the moment. Sticking it in with some of the pro drivers, actually. Even there's a handful of pro drivers that haven't even been able to get themselves ahead of at the top of the AM category at the moment. So the AM's really coming out with a big statement here at Silverstone. There's Gareth Higgins, just on a little bit of a outlap, or could be an in-lap as well in this series, but we'll see what his classification is here towards the very end of qualifying. But currently it is Sebastian Job that is the fastest driver in qualifying at the moment by, well, just shy of half a second there, Kevin. Your old rival doing well.
Yeah, Seb is carrying on right where he left off last season, putting it right at the top of the field, keeping the pressure on everyone. And yeah, I did suspect that those guys might be doing a little bit of tyre prep there. You know, sometimes multiple out laps just to bring the tyres in nice and slowly. You don't want to try and cure them too quickly. You want to try and bring the tyre in nice and slow, so that when you get onto that fast lap, you have the grip. And clearly, you know, Seb has gotten on top of that. and the pre-season testing, and he's shown his pace straight out the gate. As you say, 4.5 tenths on pole, but we've still got a second lot of laps to come in here, so I'll be interested to see if the likes of Josh Thompson or even Smalley can get up there and challenge him.
So running on board here with Sebastian Job as he heads his way in onto yet another lap here at Silverstone. But he has quite a margin compared to second place here at the moment. In terms of drivers that have not yet set themselves qualifying times, there's Jacob Urbanschik down at the very bottom at the moment, who has not been able to set a time in the number 39 AM car. So there's still time for that to happen, so not a huge panic just yet, but you really do want to be getting those banker laps in, Peter, so that you have that baseline for improvement later on.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You don't want to be caught out. It's quite a long lap here at Silverstone, towards 2 minutes around, so when you could include the outlap, and as Kevin very rightly says, the tyre preparation, the latest model of tyre here on iRacing doesn't come in until the sort of second or third lap, so it's, yeah, you can't afford really too many off tracks. Of course, if you exceed track limits, iRacing automatically detects it and nullifies that lap that you're on. You've got to go all the way around to start another one as well, so that's very, very important as well. Sebastian Job, he was on pole for this race last year, or last season, and of course the first champion back in 2021. So he's obviously very comfortable here at the home of British Motorsport as we ride with Adam Smalley, the Porsche GB Junior, Porsche Carrera Cup driver here in the UK as well. A man, I think, destined for quite big things in the Porsche world. This format of racing, the Carrera Cup, in various countries around the world, in North America, Germany, Benelux, Australia, it's amazing how many of the top Porsche drivers who are going to be driving the Porsche 963 top prototype car, most of them came through Carrera Cups.
Yeah, it's a fantastic development in a lot of cases, these national Carrera Cups, as we see Josh Thompson having a little bit of an off-track excursion there. That will, of course, invalidate whatever lap he was attempting on that particular occasion. But yeah, these national Carrera Cups always a breeding ground for the talents of the future, so to speak. It is fantastic to see, because you know that you name a country on the planet, it's probably got a Carrera Cup associated with it. And of course, these guys looking to progress in their motorsports careers, perhaps even getting up into the main Super Cup that happens in the real world, and of course in sim racing as well. We have our own Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup as well, which Kevin has competed in on many a season. So yeah, this is what Porsche are doing. They're trying to replicate the sort of system, I suppose, of having these Carrera Cups, having the Super Cup, just like they do have in the real world, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, Porsche is very, very unique in terms of, you know, there's not many car brands that have that big a coverage over the racing world. You know, the Porsche are, as you say, they've got so many different regional championships, but then it works its way up to the Mobil 1 Super Cup in the real life. And then, of course, you've got all the GT3 stuff as well that they can get into. So, you know, Porsche's coverage in esports has been absolutely amazing. They've definitely been the spearhead for esports stuff. There's no one else that really does it quite like them at the moment. So it's great to see that, you know, you've got all the regional championships going on, but then, as you mentioned, we've also got the Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup as well, which does kick off in just under 3 weeks' time, I think.
Not too long at all. Not too long. I'll definitely be tuning in for that. We just saw Josh Malin have a bit of a problem there in through Sector 1, and with the tow potentially back to the pit lane, might not be able to get out, but to set another lap here, at least in terms of an actual lap that counts. So that's not ideal there for Malin. Sebastian Job still top of the order by a bit of a narrower margin than when we last checked in on it. Jamie Moon trying to give Job a little bit of a run for his money here as Job heads his way through towards the very back end of the lap here through Stowe Corner. Got to be careful with those track limits. It's so easy to get yourself a 1x and completely invalidate your lap time. But in towards the Vale for the final time on this particular lap for Sebastian Job, in through Club Corner now. Let's see what the lap time is going to be as he heads his way up and across the line. It's an improvement, a very healthy improvement, shall we say, for Sebastian Job. He almost broke into the sub 2 minute mark there, Peter.
Good grief, that's an amazing lap time. That's quite remarkable to just shave 0.6 of a second off the lap time. Remarkable performance there from Sebastian Job. He goes nearly 3/4 of a second quicker than Jamie Moon and a second quicker than Josh Thompson. And we're talking about really top level sim racers here, and Sebastian Job has just put himself into an entirely different realm. Quite remarkable. And been interesting to see what the track temperature is doing. It was pretty toasty at the start of this session, 37 degrees Celsius on the track, and it's dropped slightly. So the track might be getting a little bit quicker, but not 6/10 from nowhere quicker. That's just remarkable from Sebastian Job.
Yeah, that is a very dominant time at the top of the order. Matt Emery getting himself up into 3rd place on the starting grid here. Not a lot of time left on the clock. A lot of these drivers will be on their final laps here in terms of trying to get their grid spot for our first race. Just so that's a little bit of a reminder. First race, 25 minutes. Then we'll have our second race, 25 minutes with the top 6 reverse grids. And of course, we have the whole Pro and Am championships to be concerned about here as well. In terms of Am, let's give a little bit of attention down there. We've got Luke Pennington on the highest starting driver for Am class here at the moment, and doesn't look like he's going to be surpassed anytime soon. There's a lot of drivers down on towards the pit lane, either have completed their final laps or have abandoned their final laps. Here is Thomas Cope in the number 64 car, heading his way through. 18 seconds left remaining. P13. Cope is going to remain behind him. There's Scott Mokes, P6 there for the moment, going to be continuing on. But as is the case, because this is a heat session, you would have thought open qualifying, they can finish their final laps. No, they cannot, because it's a heat session here, and even though it's open qualifying, that is it. When the time expires, that is qualifying completely done. So, without further ado, we'll have to check our starting grid for race number 1 here of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. It's Sebastian Job on pole position with Jamie Moon on that front row as well. We've got Matt Emery in P3 with Josh Thompson in P4. William Chadwick will start 5th with Joshua Malin in P6. Leon Penn will start in 7th with Adam Smalley in P8, with Jack Cedric P9, with Luke Pennington in P10, Kane Halliburton in 11th with Brandon Blakesley in P12. Lewis Ward in P13 with Ollie Peacock P14, with Leo Garibaldi in P15 with Gareth Higgins starting 16th place today. You got Thomas Cope and Eric Grove rounding up the top 18 cars. Jamie Rushworth will start in P19 with Scott Mokes in P20, Daniel McCauley P21 with Jacob Urbanschik in P22 with Adam State P23. James Parker will start in 24th here today. And that is your entire 24-car starting grid here for race number 1 at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. I certainly can't wait to get going. The drivers are getting themselves slowly but surely onto their starting grids here, starting grid spots here. Kevin, just before we go green here, what are your expectations for this race? How would you treat lap number 1 if you were actually driving in this?
So with lap number 1, the key thing for these guys is going to be just getting through that first sector with the cold tyres. Once you get out of left field, the tyres should begin to heat up a little bit, and you will begin to feel the grip come in. So these guys have just got to make sure that they don't make any mistakes on the cold tyres. Very easy to drop it. And for the guys at the front, especially Seb, he'll be feeling really confident after seeing that qualifying gap. So his goal, fastest lap, win race 1, try and bank your points early, and then try and get what you can in race 2 once the top 6 are reversed.
And we don't only have to keep track of the overall standings here, we have to keep track of both the Pro and the Am standings as well. So 2 championships in 1 for this 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Interesting ritual going on in the middle there. Not sure who that is. I haven't been able to learn all of the faces in this season just yet. But that was the number 39 car. That's Urbanschik with an interesting pre-race preparation here today. But we are about 35 seconds away from getting the green flag here and charging our way down in towards turn number 1 for the first time in this season. Of course, Kevin, being here in the commentary booth, is not going to be defending his championship this time around. Will Sebastian Job get it in the bag, or will someone else step up to the plate this season? There's that Red Bull Racing Esports car who has been so good over the last couple of seasons. But what does 2023 hold for him and the rest of the drivers? We're just about ready to get going here at Silverstone. Sebastian Job pole position, Jamie Moon in P2 with Emery and Thompson lining up on the row behind them. The 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain is underway. Oh, and it's a big wreck at the back. Someone's had a massive, massive problem all the way towards the very back of the field. Little bit of a false start for those guys back there. Eric Grove, Thomas Cope are both the drivers involved in that one in the very, very early stages. Jamie Moon has got himself up into the race lead. He stuck it down the inside of Job, and Job might be in a bit of trouble here because he's got Matt Emery on his outside now coming through this first sector. He's able to stem the bleeding and get himself ahead. Chadwick sticking down the inside of Emery up to Aintree as we head onto the Wellington Straight for the first time here.
Fantastic start there from both Jamie Moon and Will Chadwick, making great moves forward. Seemed that Sebastian Job was having a real problem with front end grip there as well. As Kevin said, very much the cold tyres a problem through that opening section, and we saw of course two drivers lighting up the rears with on cold tyres off the start as well, showing you that this is a new challenge, this Cup car, and the drivers have got to get on top of it.
Onto the old pit straight then, on our way in towards Copse Corner. One of the most exciting, one of the most enthralling corners in all of motorsports. Absolutely flying through there. Now in towards Maggots and Beckett's, which is also one of the most fun complexes of corners, not only in real racing, but of course in sim racing as well, as they snake their way through, looking to try and absolutely maximize these apexes and get the good run out of Chapel to allow a move on the Hangar Straight. And that's exactly what Sebastian Job has done. He's just about getting himself alongside Jamie Moon now, down in towards the braking zone for Stowe Corner. Job down the inside. He's been able to get in. Does he get the car stopped? I think he does. Moon, there's no reply.
Well, I tell you what, that's like two completely different race cars there for Sebastian Job compared to Sector 1 to, say, Sector 3. The car really coming alive as the heat comes into the tyres, and Job just looks so dominant there, is able to make the move on Jamie Moon using the draft down the Hangar Straight and getting that done very nicely indeed as well. But such a challenge for these drivers to keep it on the blacktop on these cold tyres. But now the car's just looking a little bit more comfortable as our AM-Class leader, 10th overall, Garibaldi, in the number 89 car. Great start from him.
Oh, and we got three wide into the first sector here. Pennington, he's going to get swamped along both sides, but there's contact. Lewis Ward out into the runoff area there. He has to rejoin right to the very back of the field. There's more problems ahead of him though. Scott Mook's involved in a bit of an incident with Urbanchik there further down the road. So a couple of problems there towards the very back end of the field. The front half of the field has been rather fine in these opening stages here, Kevin. It seems like at the back things have gone a little bit awry as we have a look at replay of the start. Oh, a slow starter there, Kevin. Just completely disrupted everyone's runs behind.
Yeah, Jamie Rushworth got a really good launch off the line there, and Thomas Cope didn't quite get away as well as you probably would have expected. And unfortunately, although he did move to the left, it was just a little bit too late. And Rushworth has sort of unfortunately murdered his teammate by proxy there. He's clipped Thomas Cope, and it's hit the other Pure Sims car and caused a little bit of damage, which is not the way you want to start the season. Obviously, the stewards will have a look at that, and no doubt there'll be some kind of penalty. But yeah, as you say, further down the field there, just as you get into the slower sections of the circuit, it's really, really easy for it to just stack up, and all of a sudden, you know, the guy in front of you is just stopping. So that's kind of what these guys are seeing after the first lap. It'll all spread out, and then it gets into turn 3, and it'll all sort of concertina up again and cause some issues.
Indeed, it's always sketchy when there's someone who doesn't quite get away as quickly on the start there, as there's a big incident there in behind, car heavy into the wall. I believe that might have been, just trying to try and check who that might have been, Adam State. Adam State having a big impact there on that replay. That's not how he would have wanted it to happen, that's for sure. And that's him down on towards the pit lane as well now. So unfortunate, we've got ourselves 2 retirements in this race so far, with about 20.5 minutes left to go. Here's the view. Not quite with Jamie Moon, but with William Chadwick there, currently P3, definitely keeping tabs on these race leaders here, Peter. He's sort of leaning onto the back of Jamie Moon here at the moment, and hoping that Sebastian Job is not going to run too far away at the very front.
Yeah, Job is looking pretty menacing as well. The lap times were pretty similar. It was a 201.6 for both Job and Moon. Chadwick a 201.7. But we'll see on this third lap here where Job's lap time is going to be, because we saw that difference in qualifying was quite stark. So Jamie Moon's got to be careful to not let Job get away, but it's easier said than done. You can also see the cars weaving around quite a lot on the straight. That is trying to break the aerodynamic slipstream that these cars throw, and yeah, that's what Job is desperately trying to break that slipstream and try and get into a rhythm and pull away.
Yeah, he hasn't been given the margin to do so at the moment. So the cars on P2, P3 still within his slipstream at the moment, but just that little bit more in terms of clear air pace, and then we might see Sebastian Job run away at the front of the field. You can see again the weaving down the hangar straight as he right on board here with the driver of Will Chadwick, as he tries to hunt down the two cars ahead. Matt Emery's keeping himself involved in this one as well, by the way, down in 4th place with a decent run. In terms of AM Championship, you mentioned it, Peter. Garibaldi currently in P10 here at the moment, as we see a little bit of action going on here on the replay. There's the three-wide moment that we saw in towards the first sector that was always going to end in tears.
Yeah, that was Gareth Higgins just getting a little bit overexcited in that kind of black and purple car. We'll just see him appear into shot now. Here he comes through. Poof, and that takes the number 97 of Lewis Ward out of the game as well in the Apex Racing Academy car. So that's a real shame for them. Great run, it must be said, from Matt Emery in the number 38. He's the leading privateer at this stage as well. You can see he's running in a little bit more simple livery. It looks it looks like a similar shade as Guard Red. So that's what I would order my new Porsche in, actually, Guards Red. It's a classic colour, but the best in my opinion.
Let's not start the discussion about Porsche colours here at the moment, because I was quizzed on that when we went to the prize giving, and I made myself look like a bit of a melon. But,
oh no!
Yeah, that was the instant after what we saw with the 3-wide there. Again, a little bit of carnage here at the very back.
Yeah, it was just a complete check-up there as well. Speaking of checking, it's checking out for Sebastian Job. He's got that gap to about a second, and interesting to hear Kevin's input on this as well, how far you need to be ahead to break that slipstream.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage here, Seb will definitely be on the verge of breaking draft now. At 1 second back, you definitely gain a little bit, but I think we're maybe talking a tenth or so. Seb managed to get back through past Jamie Moon with ease there. He saw Jamie not really fight it. And although Jamie could maybe match Seb for a lap or two, the thing that makes Seb so hard to beat is just the consistency. He's every single lap, he's going to be piling the pressure on Jamie, so he might be able to match for a lap or two, but Jamie's got to push absolutely as hard as he can, and that's when mistakes start to happen. So Seb can just bang these laps out at a much more consistent and easier rate than these guys. So you can see here he's doing a little bit of weaving as well, and that's allowed him to break that 1 second barrier. So at this stage, I think Jamie will be looking more behind him than they will be ahead now.
Yeah, that's got to be the case at this point. Like you said, it's consistency from Job that is stellar. And Moon, I think he might have come to this conclusion pretty early on with how easily he let Job go. Knows that potentially the race win might not be on. A P2 though, definitely very, very possible. It just requires keeping Chadwick behind him, keeping Emery behind, keeping Malin, who we're currently on board with, behind as well. It's starting to become a little bit of a train here for second place.
Yeah, and Josh Malin, our top real-life driver in terms of Porsche Carrera Cup, and acquitting himself very, very well right now, running in the overall top 5. It was a great lap from Matt Emery last time by a 201.5, quicker than both cars in front of him, and only 0.2 of a second behind Job. But as we say that, Josh Malin's put in a hot lap there, a 201.403. He is your fastest lap of the race so far. And of course, if you step over track limits, Conray, that you might set a fast lap, but it won't count.
Yeah, that's the important thing, and it's actually a thing we haven't discussed about so far here in this one in terms of the instant limits. Of course, in Sim, there's actually no limit going on. But however, in the rulebook, there is a limit of 15 instant points before they start penalising you. So that's going to be an interesting one here over the course of this season, when the instant points are not tracked in sim in terms of the penalties. Here's Leo Garibaldi, though, in P1 in terms of the AM category. It's important to keep an eye on these guys. Of course, they're running in their own little championship here, inside of this one. So obviously the pros occupy the top 9 spots, but Garibaldi has done very well to get themselves inside of the top 10 here. And oh, what's happened to Jamie Moon? What has happened to Jamie Moon? He's dropping down the order. Looks like just a little bit of a connection blip there for Moon. That's not what you're wanting when you're trying to defend P2 from drivers behind.
No, not at all. Just a little blip in the connection, as you say, Connery. The gap now up to 2 seconds as Sebastian Job, goodness me, a 2:01.2 there in race trim, as well as, big look up the inside from Will Chadwick on Jamie Moon, but the Coos Team 75 Bernard driver defends hard as well as they come through the village section. And here comes Emery. Emery's going to make a move now into Aintree on Chadwick. He's going to run him right out onto the paint. It's very, very tight as they come onto the Wellington straight. Did they make contact there? It was certainly close. Very, very close. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? It's Chadwick.
Yeah, there's a very, very the slightest of taps there as Chadwick asked for more room down the straight. I think he had enough room already, but he was also getting the slipstream from Moon ahead as well. So had all the cards definitely not stacked against him in that particular battle in terms of trying to get himself ahead. But that little bit of contact, I think, it was an inconsequential tap, I will call that. But we've got 13.5 minutes left to go as they head their way out of Copse Corner. Sebastian Job has just run for the hills at the moment as a result of that little battle that we just had in and around the second, third, fourth place area. Is just allowed Job all of this breathing room. 2.7 seconds, almost 2.8 seconds back to P2 here at the moment in a very, very comfortable position indeed. Is that Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports car, and is looking likely that he'll take the first race win of the season. But in terms of the rest of those podium positions, though, that's still a big question. And we've also got this battle going on for P6 as well between Leon Penn and Josh Thompson. Thompson didn't really get himself a good start. He did start in P4, runs in P7 here at the moment, but certainly seems to have the pace to keep tabs on these top guys.
Yeah, very important as well, because Josh Thompson right now, where he is, he would miss out on reverse grid pole position, whereas Leon Penn, the car ahead, he would be getting that reverse grid pole position. Of course, we reverse the order in the top 6 as well. But in terms of the podium battle, anybody in this kind of top 6 or 7 could come out on the podium as we hit half race distance as well. But Job just pulling away. 2:01.3 last time by. Very impressive indeed. That's 9/10 of a second quicker than Jamie Moon and Chadwick were, but I think that, as you said, Conroy, that was more to do with their battling that was going on between them. Great to see the number 75 Team Bernard car. Of course, Timo Bernard, a Porsche legend. That word is overused, but definitely apt for Timo. Retired from driving now, but has his own team that races in the DTM and other championships as well. And the 75 comes from when his dad started racing, so that was when the Bernards went racing for the first time.
Yeah, fantastic amount of history. Also, coming into the sim racing getting a history of its own as well, especially for the likes of Team Redline, for example, who have been around for donkey's years at the moment. Going back, though, to the whole incident point discussion, the incident points in this series work a little bit differently to what you might see in some other series. Incident limit is 50, not set in session, so any incident point penalties will come after the race. And drivers will receive a 1 second post-race time penalty for every incident point incurred over the incident point limit. So that is an interesting one. So you can break the limit by a little bit and get a small penalty. Say if you only break it by 1, you get 1 second penalty. But if you break it more, you're just going to slide even further back through the field. That's an interesting way of doing it, Kevin. I'm not sure what your opinions are on that one.
Yeah, I'm quite a fan of it, to be honest, because what we tended to do last season was we would try and get through the first 4 or 5 laps without any off tracks, just sort of bed the tyres in nice and gently, just try and, if Seb was ahead, just try and stay with him. If he was behind, just try and keep him behind without really taking too much out the tyre or the track limits. Later on in the race, as the pressure starts to build and guys begin to fight, it gives you incident points in hand to use. If you want to tactically use on off track, if you want to run a little bit wide, then you can do that. Or if you need to get the shoulders out and, you know, get a little bit of a 4x action going, then you've also got the margin for that as well. Obviously, no one wants to be crashing, but sometimes you can just have a little bit of a nudge mid corner, and the sim will award you a 4x. So it's always smart to just bring the race in nice and slow as we see a battle for the reverse grid pole here. Get Josh up the inside, is that?
Yep, it is Josh up the inside, and Penn trying to defend on the outside. He's going to wash out a little bit. Does he have a line on the inside there for Luffield? Oh, he's just about stuck it in there, hasn't he? But he's going to have a big trouble here on the exit of the corner. He's not able to track out as much and gives Josh Thompson the run. But Penn has kept himself in very close contention here on the run in towards Stowe Corner. We're not going to see a too wide into here, as we might sometimes see from a couple of brave drivers. But single file here for the moment, and it'll be single file in the run in towards Maggots and Beckett as well. So that's just the situation there for reverse grid pole position. Josh Thompson getting himself up there into that 6th place. Now it's just a task of holding it, isn't it, Peter? Because Penn's not going to give that one up without a fight.
No, definitely the body language of that number 17 car of Leon Penn says, I want that position back now. But that was a spectacular move there from Josh Thompson, using the line perfectly and nice and clean, and gets the job done. And to be fair to Leon Penn, Leon gave him exactly the right amount of racing room there. Super stuff indeed between those guys. Coming back to the discussion of the incident points, however, there is a kind of caveat. If you've been hit once or twice by another driver, that can give you a 4 incident point penalty without really having any part of it. So there is should we say, a discussion after the race of if you go over that incident point limit, you can argue your case that you've gone over it because of contact from another driver. But I wouldn't want to be in part of those discussions anyway. It's because there's always two sides to these stories.
I can confirm they got quite heated last season in a few cases.
I knew we would get this question eventually. This Simon Bell is asking in the chat, Kevin, why you're not racing.
To be announced, unfortunately. But yeah, it's going to be a really busy year. I'm excited to be returning for the Porsche Esports Super Cup in a few weeks, but there is another couple of things in the works at the moment that we're not allowed to discuss for another couple of weeks, I think. So hopefully all will be known soon, and I'll be able to talk about it. But at the moment, I'm afraid I can't elaborate any more than that.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah,
that gets everyone excited. That's good.
Yes, sim racing in 2023 is going to be chaotic. Is probably fair to say. Can't wait until everyone else knows about what's going to be going on. But at least in terms of this Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain race here, well, Job is just cruising at the very front of the field. He's almost got 4 seconds on Jamie Moon now, so looking very comfortable indeed. Moon has been able to hold on quite well into the 2nd place. Chadwick hasn't really been in a position to quite challenge here just yet. Whether or not Chadwick's just saving a bit of tyre life for a last couple of lap charge still remains to be seen. But we'll just have to keep a very close eye on that particular battle. Speaking of battles as well, we've got one for 10th place overall involving our AM class leader as well. That's Leo Gariboli. He's not been challenged really by any of his fellow AM drivers. He's been sticking it in amongst all the pros here at the moment, and all the action that he has had on track is with other pro drivers. So in a very comfortable position, but he does now have Brandon Blakesley just 1 car away in terms of, Ollie Peacock splitting them up here at the moment. So Gariboli, he does have a good reason to try and defend as much as possible from Ollie Peacock here.
He does, yeah. Ollie Peacock is providing a perfect buffer in that AM class battle for Gariboli. The problem is if Peacock goes for the move, that could delay Gariboli and throw him back into the clutches of Blakesley and indeed Higgins right in there in the number 36 car as well. So really intriguing action going on in this AM class, and I think this is going to be the story of the season for the AM drivers, is how they coexist amongst the pros and how the pros go about their business, whether they leave the AMs to it or whether they kind of bully them a little bit. I think that dynamic's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Kane Halliburton currently applying the pressure to the back of Adam Smalley here at the moment. He's not on our Smalley's not on our graphic there, but he's certainly involved in a bit of a battle here for P9 here at the moment. Halliburton really trying to maximize these exits, which is what you simply have to do, especially coming out of Chapel, because it allows you to get this big old run with the slipstream in towards Stowe Corner, and Halliburton's going to go for it on the Porsche Junior driver on the brakes in towards Stowe Corner. Smalley will let him have it. Is there an option to come back off the corner? No. So Halliburton clean through there up in towards P9.
It's been a great run by Adam Smalley. He's put a huge amount of effort into preparing for this event, running in the overall top 10 among some of the best sim racers in the country. Quite remarkable. I mean, it's such a unique skill to be fast in the sim here as well, and you get sim specialists, and for a real life driver to come in and race at this level straight away, very impressive. Also, if you look at Josh Malin, top 5 as well. Josh maybe got a little bit more experience on the sim, but still very, very impressive indeed. Jamie Moon looked like he might have been pulling away from Will Chadwick over those last couple of laps, but Chadwick is rallying once again in that number 88 car, and has a little look as they come down towards Brooklands underneath the British Racing Drivers Club. But no, Jamie Moon's really done a good job here as well to just keep calm. He's not panicked with Sebastian Job pulling away. He's running a really clean and smooth race.
That does seem to be the case. Kevin, what's your assessment of this particular battle between Moon and Chadwick here at the moment? Because sometimes you see these gaps sort of naturally fluctuate in and out as the drivers' consistency sort of go in and out of phase. But is there an option here for Chadwick to try and challenge here at the end, especially if he's been a little bit kinder to his tyres here over the course of this race, or has the recent changes to this particular car have made that less of an issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. It's all going to be about managing risk. Obviously, there's a second race coming up, and these guys are in that reverse top 6. As we see, Chadwick run a little bit wide there. He would have got an off track for that, but you can see Jamie's obviously keen to keep a hold of P2. He's going to want the points. He's been ahead of Chadwick full race. To be honest, I think with the dirt air and how similar these two have been on pace, I think Chadwick will have a hard time. But it's one of those things that I said earlier, you know, you need to manage your off tracks, you need to manage your tyres. So we could easily see a move from Chadwick on the last lap if he's got the incident points to play with. And also, it depends what Jamie's done with his off tracks. If Jamie's sitting on 12, 13 incident points where he can't afford a 4X, then, you know, you might see him actually not defend too hard. So, yeah, I think we've got, 2 laps left. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but these guys will be racing with the reverse grid in mind. Chadwick will start the next race ahead of Jamie, so he's just got to bear that in mind and stay patient.
Yeah, so even though there are a couple more points on offer for the pro drivers in this first race compared to the second race, sometimes you do have to think big picture and think, okay, well, maybe if I'm on for a much better result in the second race, maybe it would be better to just stay in behind here for the moment and get that track position on the initial start. That's all the things that Chadwick has to be thinking about here at the moment, and his crew and his team inside of that Team Fordzilla outfit. They'll be running running the strategy, running the calculations here as well. So even though there are no pit stops, there's certainly strategic thinking still going on, Pierre.
Yeah, there is, and you know, Sebastian Job at the front of the field, he's going to start back in 6th in race 2, so he's going to have to be pretty patient with the pace overlap that he appears to have. He's going to just have to take his time in the 25-minute race in race 2 and just pick his way through gently. Last year he won the first race from pole, but finished 3rd to an Apex Racing 1-2 in race 2. So interesting to see how he gets on there as well. It's a model of concentration here, Adam Smalley. Maybe a little bit of pressure and concern there as well. We were talking about this before we came on air, about the mental challenge of simulator motorsport can actually be tougher than the outdoor world because of the lack of, you know, sensations coming from the actual car itself.
Whoa! There's an incident.
There's 2 freebies. Oh!
Oh boy.
Sedgwick and Halliburton.
Yeah.
Our Ram leader involved as well.
Yeah, collected a couple of cars behind as well, didn't it? That is super unfortunate. Halliburton sticking it down the inside on a closing gap, I get the feeling, but of course the stewards will look at it after the race here as we head on towards the final lap. It's caused a little bit of a commotion in and amongst a couple of the oppositions here as everyone tries to sort themselves out and get this final lap going and underway. But my word, that was completely out of left field.
Well, and look at what it's done to Garibaldi's race. You know, Garibaldi was leading the whole way through, and now he's down into second in class, and it was just a little bit of a low percentage lunge there from Halliburton. Just clipped the quarter panel of Sedgwick's machine. He did get a good run down the hangar straight, but maybe just not quite good enough. He was alongside, just couldn't quite outbrake Sedgwick enough, and that just really caused a chain reaction, smoke everywhere, and yeah, really hurt Garibaldi. Ironically, that was his teammate as well. Yeah,
but I would hate to be on the wall in the Discord or whatever they have going for that team. Garibaldi. He did nothing wrong over the course of this entire race. It was in a solid AM class lead, and then to have something like that happen and get caught up in it, that is tragic, absolutely tragic. But, well, we'll have a second race here, remember, where we can potentially recover a couple of points here and there, but certainly not the stellar first race that he was expecting. There's Sebastian Job. Well, he's had a stellar first race. He's 5 seconds ahead of everyone else. There's a lot of weaving going on back there down the hangar straight. Jamie Moon trying to keep Chadwick and Emery behind him in towards the final sector. But there's Sebastian Job. What a performance. What dominance here in the first round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. He heads his way out of the final corner to come across the line to win race 1 here at Silverstone. P2 goes to Jamie Moon, and we've got Chadwick and Emery coming across the line in that order.
Yeah, great stuff there from Jamie. Well, great stuff to hold on to second place. A little bit dubious tactics, made 3 or 4 moves on the straight there as well, which is pushing the rules to their limit, but surprise win in AM for Blakesley in the number 77 car for Apex Tech. And as I said, just a correction, it was Blakesley's teammate Halliburton's move that actually kicked off that chain reaction, which Blakesley benefited from. And Garibaldi coming home in second place. He'll be disappointed, but as you rightly said, Connery, another race to go and a time to settle that score.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have a little bit of a look at our race results here from race number 1 at Silverstone for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. And it looks a little bit like this. These are unofficial results, by the way. These are pending stewards review because the stewards don't tend to give tend to give penalties inside the actual session. So Sebastian Job takes the race win from Jamie Moon from Will Chadwick. That's the podium, with Matthew Emery in P4 with Joshua Malin in 5th. Josh Thompson's 6th place will be reverse grid pole position. Leon Penn will miss out on that one narrowly, finishing in 7th place, with Adam Smalley getting himself up into the points as our guest driver from the Porsche Junior outfit in P8. We've got Ollie Peacock in P9 and Brandon Blakesley getting himself inside the top 10 overall, but the win in the AM class. Kane Halliburton will finish in P11 with Garibaldi in P12. So at least Garibaldi got P2 there in terms of the AM class. So it's a couple of points lost, but definitely not as bad as it could have been. Gareth Higgins in P13 with Daniel McCauley P14, Luke Pennington P15, Eric Grove P16, Lewis Ward in P17, Urban Jick P18, Parker 19th, and Mokes in 20th. And then we'll have a look at the very back of the order. Jamie Rushworth, P21, Jack Sedgwick, P22, after the big incident that he had there towards the very end of the race. It's Adam State and Thomas Cope that are the drivers that, unfortunately, did not finish the race. They retired 12 and 13 laps down, respectively. So, as we head into our little bit of a break here in between the two races, we can potentially have ourselves a little bit of a chat amongst ourselves, and well, if we'll get ourselves our drivers in for an interview, we can have a chat with them as well. And the first driver that we'll have actually is William Chadwick. Peter, you're standing by with our track guide creator.
Well, that was certainly a tense race there as well. Couldn't quite break Jamie's resolve there, but tell us how it went from your side.
Well, yeah, qualifying didn't go the best. I wanted 2 lap runs. It turns out people weren't doing that. But I didn't quite get it right in quali in terms of the preparation of the tyre. But I'm just happy to have got those 2 places, because you saw how hard it is to overtake. It's really, really hard. So, yeah, could have got Jamie if I'd just been a bit smarter and not gone at the first part of Village. But, you know, I'm happy with third to start the season.
And tell us a little bit about the battle from behind, because you're having to have eyes at the front of your head and eyes at the back of your head, trying to hold off Matt Emery. That was that got a little bit tasty coming along the Wellington Straight there. Yeah,
I mean, it was just my consequence of the poor decision of move from myself. I got a run. Thankfully, I still had toe, and I was able to outbrake him down into Brooklands. But I wasn't really concentrating on behind. I was just really focused on trying to get Moon most of the time, but wasn't able to do it. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy with P3 to start the weekend.
And final question for you as well. Heading into race 2, you're going to have a good grid position there as well. What's the target for race 2?
Well, if we go up 2 again, I think that's a decent point. But we'll just try and get a clean start, because, like I said, if you mess up the start and you end up going backwards, it's really hard to recover.
Well, Will, a great race, great podium to start off this season. Well done, and good luck for race 2.
Thank you very much.
Well, there we go. That was a little bit of a chat there with William Chadwick, who's... well, it's a positive start to the season. P5 to P3 in the first race, not too shabby. Now starting in P4 for our second race of the afternoon. Not too bad of a position to be in. So a very positive outlook there for Will Chadwick. But of course, Peter, in this situation, the drivers have a little bit of a break in between the 2 races just to get themselves all prepared and all set for our second race of the afternoon. And it's going to be another 25-minute race, so exactly the same as we've had here in race 1, just with that reverse grid. And this is the point where we will see whether or not Sebastian Job can get his way through on this field effectively, because we know he has the clear air pace. He was able to break the draft and run away by 4.5 seconds there at the very end, but can he do it when traffic is going to be an issue? Usually I would say yes, but with there's a different set of drivers here compared to last year in most cases, so it might be a little different, and the drivers' chemistry in between each other hasn't really been developed yet, so they don't really know how each other race.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch Sebastian Job starting from 6th on the grid. You watched in that opening sector how much he seemed to struggle on the cold tyres more than, say, Jamie Moon did, but then it very quickly flipped on its head, and by the end of the opening lap, he was rocking and rolling. So let's wait and see. I think this will be a little bit more nerve-wracking for him than race 1 was, because, you know, he knew he had the pace. He qualified at the front, and he delivered a perfect race, really. But starting from P6, that's going to be a different ball game, especially with that kind of switchback nature of the opening sector here at Silverstone. It's very easy to get into contact.
Incredibly easy. And Kevin, you've been in Seb's position many a time when you've got the bad end of the reverse grid due to winning a race. How do you approach these situations? Because every driver, I feel like, approaches it slightly differently, either going ultra aggressive or just wait for the race to come to them. What's your perspective on this?
I mean, ultimately, it depends on the situation. You've got to look at who the guys are that are in the top 6 and how quick or how aggressive they may be. There might be some guys who 9 times out of 10 will just let you go. There might be other guys who you know are going to fight you, even if you have a pace advantage. So I think with Seb, his only real concern would be Josh Thompson starting on pole. He could potentially run away at the start there, but as I say, with the cold tyres, you've still got to try and play patient. You can't get too over-aggressive on that opening sector. Ultimately, you've got to think big picture. He's got pole, he's got the win, he's bagged the points. So, you know, even if he doesn't win race 2 here, he's still going to walk away with the championship lead. So, key point is no penalties, no mistakes, and just simply get what you can get.
Yeah, especially when we factor in the instant points, like you mentioned. You know, I don't think Job would have gone over it in this in race number 1. He was seemingly like no one was around him for most of it, so it would have been off tracks in that case. But But yeah, this is going to be a pretty interesting one, that's for sure. We've got we've got Josh Thompson starting pole, we've got Josh Malin on the front row as well, who had a decent race. Same with Matt Emery, who was pretty solid in that first event as well. However, they weren't really, even though they were close together in the first race, they weren't really fighting actively with each other a whole bunch in terms of side-by-side action. So that's something that's going to really change here, at least in the opening portions of this second race between those guys. And like Kevin said there, that might be an opportunity for Josh Thompson to get away because of maybe battles for P2, 3, 4 going on behind, leaving the race leader to just run.
Yeah, I think we've seen Josh do that before, you know, in various other championships, where if he can get that clear air and get into his own rhythm, he's very, very fast. Very, very fast indeed. So that is something that I'm sure Sebastian Job will be aware of, and we'll just be keeping an eye on that gap of how much Josh might pull away at the front of the field. But, you know, Josh Malin as well, you know, he had a great run there in race 1 as well, so there's a lot that can shake out in this race. I think this could be a completely different shape of race. You know, everyone was kind of qualified in their pace order and ran in their pace order in race 1, more or less. This is a bit different, and that's going to be where we're going to see who's the most complete driver to win that championship.
I think if we're talking about Thompson, his main concern is his consistency and him keeping himself out of trouble in terms of single car errors or getting involved in something that he shouldn't. That was the entire theme of his time in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup in particular. So it's a little bit of a different situation for him now. He is starting pole position, so if he does have the opportunity to run away, he probably will. However, keeping that consistency up is such a massive task. And Kev, you said that Sebastian is one of the best in the business when it comes to that sort of consistency to be able to run away. But with Thompson, I get the feeling that it might not be as clear-cut in terms of him trying to break the draft or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, Josh would definitely be concerned about Seb, for sure. It'll be in the back of his mind. If Seb can get into the top 3 after the first couple of laps, then you know, the pressure's already on because Seb is relentless. That's why he's won the Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. It's why he won the first championship and the Carrera Cup GB as well. So, yeah, he's relentless. He'll never give up. And if he can get himself into the top 3 after the first couple of laps, then I'd expect to see him be able to get to Josh and dispose of him fairly quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just moments away from getting ourselves our grid set for race 2 here at Silverstone for the 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. I'm Connery Maddock. I'm joined by Peter Mackay and Kevin Ellis Jr. as well, our 2022 champion in this series. But time is about to expire in our warm-up session. Then we'll get ourselves confirmation of the starting grid. Remember, it's just the results from race 1 with the top 6 cars reversed. So P6 starts P1, P5 starts P2, so on and so forth. But drivers getting themselves ready now. We've got 3 minutes of gridding time to get on with here as well. But let's take a look at our starting grid then for race number 2. It will be Josh Thompson on pole position with Joshua Malin in P2. Matthew Emery will start in P3 with Will Chadwick in P4. Jamie Moon will start 5th with Sebastian Job, our race 1 winner, starting in 6th for Red Bull Racing Esports team. Leon Penn will start in P7 with Adam Smalley, the Porsche Junior driver, starting in P8 with Ollie Peacock from Apex Tech starting in 9th. And there's a whole bunch of Apex Tech cars here from P9 to P11. There's Blakesley and Halliburton occupy 10th and 11th. Garibaldi in P12, having a race win unceremoniously taken away from him in that first race. He'll be looking to try and bag it here in the second. We've got Gareth Higgins in P13 with Daniel McCauley from the Apex Racing team in P14. Luke Pennington in P15 with Eric Grove from Pure Sims in P16. Lewis Ward will start 17th with Jacob Urbanchik in P18. Then you've got James Parker starting in 19th with Scott Mokes in P20. Jamie Rushworth will start P21 with Jack Cedric from Inex Racing in P22. Satellite Racing's Adam State in P23. Thomas Coate from Olympus in P24. Rounds out our 24 car starting grid then for race number 2. You can see the drivers getting themselves all ready, all set. Will we see a a pre-race ceremony from Urbanjik once again with the little dance that he did. I don't think we'll get to see it, but either way, I'm certainly very excited for what's upcoming here in this one, Peter. Of course, you know, with it being this early on in the season, drivers are looking to just try and establish that great baseline they can build off of for the rest of the championship. If you get a bad result here today in both of these races, then you're going to be starting on the back foot for the rest of the season, and that is not a position that you want to be in. You want to be straight out of the blocks, really challenging for those top points.
I totally agree. Yeah, very important to just get those points on the board early. You do not want to be playing catch-up, because in this type of racing, the margins are so fine that trying to get an overspeed on somebody is so difficult as well. So yeah, it's very, very important as well. You know, Kane Halliburton and Jack Sedgwick, they'll be hoping to kind of make amends for the incident that they both had in race one. They've got room to catch up.
Indeed they do. Drivers getting themselves set. Kevin, as we have, well, actually we have very little time before we get ourselves the green lights here in race number 2 of the season in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Race 2 at Silverstone. It's Josh Thompson getting himself onto the reverse grid pole position. Josh Malin on the front row as well. We're about to get going once again here at Silverstone. Those engine notes have risen, and off and away we go. Another sluggish start towards the very back of the field for one of the Apex Racing Academy cars, as here comes a charge from Josh Malin, looking down the inside immediately on the race leader Josh Thompson, but Emery's worked his way through. Emery's challenging for the race lead now, on the way in towards the braking zone. Oh, that is amazing move there. Amazing start from Emery from P3. He gets himself up into the race lead, but Johnson immediately back down the inside, has found the gap somehow, and Malin's now trying to follow him through as well. Chaos here in terms of the battling at the front of the field for race 2. That was crazy.
Oh, that was a lightning getaway from Matt Emery in that red number 38 car, and nearly got into the lead of the race, but Josh Thompson getting his elbows out early, knowing how important that clear air is in the front as well. Josh Malin there in second position as well, as Chadwick's going to have a look up the inside of Emery. They both give each other room. Remember, they had a little bit of contact in race 1 as well. Not such a great start for Sebastian Job. He's just, I think, just bedding himself in. No risk. As soon as the race gets going and it spreads out a bit, he can release his secret weapon, which is his red-hot pace.
Yeah, and he's giving a bit of love taps to the back bumpers of both the Apex car of Adam Smalley and, of course, the car Jamie Moon as well. Job a little bit trapped here. This is not a fantastic first lap performance, rather the first half a lap performance here from our race 1 winner and our, of course, 2021 champion as well. So this is the opposite of a good start for Sebastian Job. He's lost a position on the start instead of gaining them. Is this Job in a little bit of trouble already, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not what he'd planned. You know, Matt Emery done a great job off the start there to get to the lead, but obviously Josh got straight back at him there into turn 4. And here you can see Smalley having a dive, a little bit of podding going on there. Seb has to keep himself clean. There we go, he gets the undercut there on Jamie Moon. So yeah, not ideal for Seb, but he does have to just stay patient. The race is not over yet. He's got the pace to get back up there, and you can see that, you know, he was taking it easy at the start there. He knew he had the points in the bag, and he just got swallowed up a little bit there because of that. So he's got to, yeah, try and get by Smalley ASAP, and then start working back towards the leading group.
Look at that defense from Thompson off the initial start, pushing Emery all the way towards the pit wall there. That was crazy stuff, and 3 wide in behind as well. Big instant actually in behind.
Adam State again.
Yeah, it was. Indeed it was. So that's going to be one that the stewards will look at. Meanwhile, a little bit of swarming on the way down the straight here. As Ollie Peacock and Daniel McCauley going side by side towards the background of that particular shot there. In towards left field now. Everyone stacked up nose to tail here, at least inside of this sort of top 10, inside the top 10, outside the top 10 area. Leon Penn having a poor run out of left field there. Might come under threat from Halliburton in towards Stowe Corner now. If he decides to go for such a risky move, 9 times out of 10 they won't, unless it's a last-ditch, last-lap thing. But Halliburton getting himself a good run out of Stowe there. but can't really do anything with it in towards Maggotts, in towards Beckett. So now has to be looking at the braking zone of Stowe as the earliest as he'll be able to get past.
Interesting there with that big move that Adam Smalley put on Jamie Moon has really taken the momentum away from Moon. He's dropped back to 10th position now, and he's got to try and get past Macaulay, Halliburton, Penn as well to try and get onto the case of the rivals he had in race 1 as Halliburton takes a little look up the inside of Penn. No, not quite. Thompson he's got that clear air at the front, but he is not able to pull away from Josh Malin so far as Chadwick actually moves up into 2nd position. So actually that could help Thompson to just make a little bit of a break if they start fighting with one another.
Yeah, Thompson relatively clean through on Malin as well. It was a simple pass down in towards the Vale chicane. Malin setting the fastest lap of the race so far. At least that's the fastest valid lap of the race so far, as our graphics only are concerned about the ones that have been done without any instant points whatsoever. Meanwhile, a little bit of fighting going on through the middle sector here as drivers try to improve their position. We're looking at Leon Penn and Kane Halliburton there duking it out for P8. But, as there's a slow car ahead, slow car. Adam Smalley's made a mistake there, coming out of Aintree, and has lost the position to Leon Penn. Has to be careful not to lose the position to Kane Halliburton as well, but no, there's a gap that he can slot in there. That's, one given away there by the number 21.
And Jamie Moon, he is just trapped in this battle as well. He did make a move on Macaulay. Macaulay didn't fight it too hard because, of course, he is leading the AM class. He needs to worry about that more, but look at the distance that Sebastian Job has pulled away after being so close with Smalley a couple of laps ago. He's up into 5th, but he's still got a lot of work to do as, contact there. There's a 23 car, one of the Apex Tech machines there. That was Ollie Peacock.
Yeah. And, Kevin, looks like we've got a little bit of damage to the side of Adam Smalley's car. Just a little bit, but it can be those little bits that make all the difference in terms of maybe losing you maybe half a tenth, maybe a full tenth of a second, which is absolutely massive when the field's this close.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much the amount of damage that you can have if you get it just in the wrong spot, if it's right behind the front wheel, down on that skirt, just behind the front wheel. You can see Smalley getting dived here, he's been tipped around. Oh no. And Kane Halliburton was up the inside there. I need to have a look at that one.
Yeah, and he has to wait as well. He can't afford to get an unsafe rejoin, so he has to wait for the rest of the field to head their way through. It was a late move there from Halliburton. Contact in the middle of the corner. That's again another one for the stewards to look at where, well, I think the stewards will be relatively busy here, at least as far as how the start of this race has gone. And Smalley unceremoniously being spun around in the middle of the Vale chicane and having to wait for absolutely everyone, the entire field, to head their way through. There's the lunge, there's the contact, and there's the spin.
Two very similar incidents in these two races from Kane Halliburton. Okay, two different corners, but you know, moves from a little bit far back on the brakes and clipping the quarter panel. Moon's off.
Yeah, that was a lunge and a half, and careful with the rejoin. We'll be able to get in alongside the one of the Apex Tech cars there. That is Brandon Blakesley. But I saw that on my own view of things. This was lick the stamp and send it from Jamie Moon. Jesus.
Yeah, that was a little bit over-ambitious there from Moon as he appears to get a bit of a draft here from Halliburton. Does he lock up?
I think he's just a bit blindsided there. It looks like he's missed his brake point. It's very, very hard into that corner. The brake board is so obstructed by the car ahead there. I think it's just an honest mistake from Jamie there. Unfortunate.
Yeah, at least it didn't take them both into an incident, and Moon was able to carry on. Good awareness actually there from Halliburton to sort of let him come by to avoid the incident. Dan McCauley's having a great run here in 8th position overall. Car number 41. He's leading the AM class by about a second or so from Gariboli, who led for most of the way in race 1 and had to settle for second in the class. But Gariboli proving that he's going to be a real threat for that AM championship, as Sebastian Job in 5th place. lays in the fastest lap of the race. He's only 1.5 seconds from the leader. Problem is, he's got 3 cars between himself and the leader.
Yeah, he's on the back of the leading train now, and he's within their slipstream. So this is a little bit of a concern for all 4 drivers that are ahead of Job here at the moment. A little bit of tyre smoke going on further back there. That was a little bit of a concern, and a lot of side-by-side going on actually. Scott Moakes and Gareth Higgins going wheel to wheel on their way down the Wellington Straight for the first time. There's a sign that Garibaldi wants to get down the inside of Macaulay as well. That's the battle for the AM class lead. Going on in towards Brooklands, Garibaldi has been able to get that one. That was a fantastic pass, but we got to be careful with the line through left field. You can take it as a double apex, but it always invites perhaps a little cheeky look down the inside just with a nose from Macaulay, but Macaulay wasn't close enough to be able to make that happen, Kevin.
Yeah, you can see as well there, Dan wasn't happy with himself on the exit. Yeah, he realised that he'd made a bit of a mistake there and just gave Leo the opportunity to get by him. And yeah, I mean, Dan has always typically been stronger in race 2 than he has race 1, so you know I'd expect to see him keep the pressure on. But ultimately, he's got the 3rd and 4th place guys right behind him as well now. So this AM battle is definitely heating up here as they fight for P9 overall.
I think he did get a bit of a hard move put on him by the number 20 car, the pro car of Grove, the Pure Sims machine. And I think that just took Macaulay's momentum away a little bit, and Garibaldi, pure opportunism, really nice move there to take the AM class lead. So really unfortunate for Macaulay, but he's still in there in the hunt, but he's got to look behind now. He's got Higgins right behind in that black and purple car.
Here's a look at Sebastian Job as he's got Matt Emery disposed of already, and looking for a few more positions in the final less than 15 minutes of this race. So this is going to be an interesting task for Sebastian Job to try and get himself up in towards the race lead. Is it possible? Very much so, especially when you talk about a driver of his caliber. It's just about how easy these cars ahead will make it for him. I don't think any of them will really make it easy for him. I will just say that, unless someone in 3rd place like Joshua Malin wants to use him as a pick to try and get through up into P2 maybe.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting as the pace isn't quite as hot at the front of the field. Not sure what the track temperature is. If we can have a look at the track temperature, we can compare as well. It's a little bit cooler actually, in fact, 33 degrees Celsius. So yeah, a little bit. So the track should actually be a bit quicker, but Job lapping very, very quickly at the moment. He's just done a 2:01.7, which is a bit quicker than the guys ahead of him. His best a 2:01.3, which is right on par with what he had in race 1.
Yeah, and the wind picking up as well. I've always wanted to ask this, Kevin, because we know it affects open wheel cars a bunch more than it does the tin top cars, as we call it. But do you pay any attention to the wind whatsoever in terms of your in terms of how you actually prepare for these sorts of races, or how you actually drive the circuit, or is it just not really a concern?
No, the wind is definitely a concern, yeah. I mean, if you're going down the hangar straight like we are at the moment, for example, and qualifying, and you get a
whoa! Sorry, Kevin, there's a battle for the race lead going on.
Oh, yep.
Chadwick, 2 tyres out into the grass there, trying to get past Thompson, knowing that there's the looming threat of Sebastian Job on the way. Chadwick feels the need to try and get himself up into the race lead. Hasn't been successful in doing so, and now Job is all over the back of these guys. Oh, that got very, very sketchy very quickly there, Kevin. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, that was tough defense there from Josh. He was making his intentions clear, but I agree with you there. I think Chadwick has seen that Seb is on the back of this group now, and he's thought, okay, it's go time. If I want to win this race, I need to put as many cars between me and Seb as I can. But yeah, as I was saying regarding the wind, if you get like a 10 kph sort of gust down the back straight, you can gain a good chunk of time from that, you know, and it can affect the balance. If the wind gusts from a northeast to a northwest or something like that, it can definitely affect the balance. So yeah, every single aspect of the weather we pay really close attention to, besides maybe the humidity is the only one that we're not too concerned about, but the rest of it is all very much important to us.
Until you're at a track like Motegi and the iRacing system blesses you with a whole bunch of fog.
Exactly, yeah.
that can happen. It's quite rare, but it can happen that we just get a layer of fog here, and that causes chaos with our cameras and things like that. But that's just the roll of the dice sometimes. As the battle heading their way through. And Sebastian Job looking to the inside there, up in towards and towards the right-hander of Kops, and well, not going to be successful in doing so. Although he's got a massive run. Massive run indeed over Josh Malin on the way in towards Maggots and Beckett's. This is such a tough section of the corner. Such a tough section to go side by side through, but Job has been able to do it with Malin. Lost a bit of time to the front too, however.
My word, that was brave. That was really brave. Sebastian Job put his championship lead in Josh Malin's hands there. Josh had him right up against the ropes there, but and no further than that. Great hard racing, as Kev said. What a move there from Sebastian Job. Now, if Thompson and Chadwick are clever here, if they start fighting with each other, Job is going to be on them in no time. They've got to be really, really smart and try and do what they can to make Job's life difficult to get on the case for that win. They've really got to play this one clever.
And the thing that Job can't afford to do is get stuck behind these front two, because then all of a sudden Malin's back in it, Emery's back in it, both of them can harass the back of Job. But even if to be a nuisance more than anything else, we've also got ourselves a little bit of a battle going on in the AM class as well. Gareth Higgins, we've got Daniel McCauley involved in that one as well. So they're very, very close in the latter stages of this race. We're deep inside the second half of this one now. So lots of positions still undecided. The entire podium for Pro Class, and P2 and P3 for AM as well, as Garibaldi looking to try and do a repeat of the, well, first 20 minutes of race one, and then hopefully make that 25 minutes without the little incident that he got caught up in at the end of the previous race. That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it certainly would be. Kane Halliburton making good moves here, up into 6th position. Just put a move on Leon Penn there as well. But will Halliburton get the wrath of the stewards post-race? He's been involved in 2 incidents, which you could argue were both his fault. He's trying to make up as many positions as he can. Sebastian Job now into 3rd position and hunting down the 2 cars ahead of him. Last lap was a 202.3, which is about a second off his ultimate pace, but of course that was making his way past Josh Malin. But there you go, Job is right there in the draft now of Chadwick, and is Chadwick going to have to make a move now? Josh Thompson comes to cover the move off, so it's not the optimal racing line, defensive line there from Thompson, and that is going to slow up the pace and allow Job just to creep that a little bit closer, as well as Chadwick has a little look up the inside. No, the side's better of it, and you can just see the rear there of Thompson's car just wiggling around, just struggling for grip a little bit.
You see the head leaning going on for Chadwick as well. There are a good couple of sim drivers that lean their head into the corner, even though they're not dealing with any G-forces whatsoever. But it's just the habit that they get into as these guys head their way through the first sector. Kevin, are you a head leaner or not? I can't even recall from watching your webcams in the various races that you've done.
I'm a bit of a leaner, yeah. Not quite as much as Chadwick, I don't think, but yeah, I do definitely tilt the head over just a little bit. It's something I've caught myself doing, and I've tried to stop it, but I can't help it. I don't know what it is. As soon as you turn into the corner, it's just a sort of natural instinct that your head follows where you want to go. So, yeah, I'm afraid I am.
Yeah, there we go. But
if it's good enough for Gilles Villeneuve, it's good enough for me.
This front three, though, Job obviously has the pace over Thompson and Chadwick here in clear air and in dirty air, if I'm being completely honest here. But there's still not a guarantee that he'll get past both of them and take this race win. You know, anything can happen here, and we've seen some absolutely stellar defenses last season and the season before that from various drivers up and down the field. So this one definitely isn't signed, sealed, and delivered just yet, Peter. I'm actually quite excited for these final 7 minutes.
Yeah, this is going to be a thriller, and you can be sure that Thompson and Chadwick, they're not going to roll over. Definitely not. They're going to throw everything at it. We've just seen actually, in the last few laps how firmly they're racing each other. So you can be sure that when Job sticks a nose in there, they're going to be just as just as firm. This is great to see for Will Chadwick, who's really worked very, very hard at his sim racing over the last few years and has brought himself up into this echelon. You know, he's racing with two proper pro-level drivers, Josh Thompson, Sebastian Job, who've raced at the top level of sim racing for a long time, and he's there matching them punch for punch. This is really good to see from Will Chadwick.
And of course, Will, as a result of his good finish in the previous season, he got the opportunity to compete in the Porsche Esports Super Cup Contender Series, the qualifying series for the main Super Cup here on iRacing. So you never know, if you get a good result here in this series, you might be on for a ticket into the Contender Series for the Super Cup next season, as long as unlike Kevin and Peter and the top finishers and Seb, the top finishers from the previous season, you're already in there. So it might even go to P2 or P3 or P4 in the championship, depending on what the status of the top driver is. But there's the battle for the AM class here at the moment. Absolute swarm of cars on the way in towards the left-hander. Now we've got Daniel McCauley keeping himself ahead just marginally. Higgins applying the pressure. We've got Mokes involved in this one, as well as one of the AM drivers. Same with Blakesley on the back of the train as well. So we don't only have to be looking at the very front of the field here in these final 5 minutes. We have to be looking at the battle for P2 and AM as well, because their championship just as important.
Well, and Garibaldi, he's really taken full advantage of that little bit of good fortune that came his way when the number 20 car of Eric Grove put a pretty firm move on Dan McCauley, ironically part of the same racing stable of the Apex Racing team. So there might be discussions about that later. Excuse me, sorry, it was Pure Sims, excuse me. So Garibaldi's really made the most of that as well, and he's pulled out a 3-second gap back to McCauley. So Garibaldi in a good position to get that AM class win that he picked out that he missed out on in race 1. As Chadwick having to go very defensive here to try and keep Job at bay. Oh, dear me, Job has a big lump over the curb there.
Oh, and Chadwick's not going to have a good run here through club either, although Seb clips the curb on the inside there, gets a little bit of a slide on and loses all of the momentum that he had and could have used to make the move down in towards turn number 1. So everything returns to the status quo here. Thompson has been given a little bit of breathing room to work with, which will be gobbled up due to a little bit of a mistake there through the right. And now Job heading his way down the inside of the loop. This is the pass that he was been waiting for, and he completes it to perfection. Sebastian Job up into P2, and now 4 minutes remain for the task to try and get up to Thompson and get past him as well.
I think, yeah, you can't give Sebastian Job that kind of gap. He will take it, he will rob you. And that's exactly what he did there. Chadwick gave him plenty of opportunity, and Job just dived straight through the gap and takes second position. Now, Josh Thompson, those last few sectors are critical to try and get some sort of breakaway from Sebastian Job. Now Job's going to have to lay down that pace that he had in race 1. Tell you what, guys, with 3.5 minutes to go, this is going to go down to the wire.
Absolutely. Kevin, this is where the pressure perhaps gets up to its highest point over the course of any race. You know, especially if you're Josh Thompson, you're just some drivers might get into the habit of just looking at that relative, just going, oh, he's closing in, and start to get inside their own heads, as we have this battle for the AM podium positions going on behind as well. Now this is where the psychological element comes into it, Kev.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the stage of the race where you might catch yourself what we call delta driving, where you come out the corner, you're looking at the delta, am I green, am I red? So there's a little bit of bumping going on down the straight here. These AM guys are getting the elbows out with just under 3 minutes to go. There's looks like a move up the inside into Stowe might be on here.
Not quite. Not quite. Pennington's in the middle of all of this one, in 6th place, looking to try and get himself through on Gareth Higgins. We've got Urban Chick as well, also on the outside looking into this. A little bit of smoke on the way down in towards the Vale there with a slight lock-up, although Urban Chick, he slid the car out the corner. He loses the positions, loses one more position to Adam Smalley, who heads his way through. So that's unfortunate there for Urban Chick, as we are getting into the very, very late stages of this race now. I'm keeping an eye on that gap at the very front of the field. It's come down to just a couple of tenths of a second between Thompson and Job. It was a 201.883 for Josh Thompson. Last lap, 201.683 for Sebastian Job on that last lap. 0.2 of a second faster. Of course, that's helped a lot by the draft, but there's a very large amount of skill involved in that as well.
And this is the penultimate lap. 1 lap to go after this one as well. Can Josh Thompson hang on to score a win here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, or can Sebastian Job, the 2021 champion, can he get the double to kick off the season in perfect time? Tell you what though, fastest lap though is not going the way of Sebastian Job right now as it was. Jamie Moon back in 10th, he's put in the fastest lap of the race with a lap time 201.1. Goodness me.
Yeah, that's pretty rapid. Must have gone on a very good draft throughout the entirety of the lap to be able to do that. But this is the point. I was just going to mention, Kevin put it in our little chat here as well, that if you have some spare off tracks to use and below the instant point limit, why not use them now? As Sebastian Job looks his way down the inside at Stowe Corner, slides around a little bit on the inside there, gives the momentum back to Thompson. Thompson coming back at him down driver's left-hand side. Will have the inside for the first apex of the Vale, but it might mean a compromise run coming out of the corner. Parks it on the apex slightly. 1-2 taps from Sebastian Job, and Thompson keeps himself ahead. Final lap.
Oh, tell you what, Will Chadwick's watching this going, yes guys, keep doing that, bring me back into the game, and he is back into the game in that 88 car is Chadwick. So this is going to go down to the last corner. Josh Thompson managed to hang on just and no more, but coming into the village section here, lock up from Job, that'll spike the temperature through the tyre. That's not what you want, as Malin puts a hard move on Emery in the background.
Yeah, that was quite a lunge there. There was an interesting line from Thompson there, very defensive, very early on into the corner there, and Job just ran very slightly into the back of him, or was fearing he was going to run slightly into the back of him, and had to lock up a little bit. But again, it's a 1/10 of a second, another 1 or 2 tenths of a second going the way of Thompson here at the moment. As a result of all of that, that might just be enough for Thompson to come away with this race win. But you know Job is going to maximise Copse, Maggots and Beckett's Chapel as well, to be able to give himself the best run possible in towards Stowe Corner. We've seen Thompson defend that move on that previous lap. He might have to defend it again, you know, Kevin.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know if Seb got a 4x for that contact in the last corner there. Yeah, that's that small lock up there at turn 3 as Josh took a slightly different line. It's definitely, as Peter said, going to spike the tyre temp, but here you can see Seb's now within 3 tenths. He needs to go to exit out of here. You need to be within about 2.5 tenths to get a go, and he's bang on 2.5 tenths as we head down the hangar straight for the last time.
He's got it. We'll have a battle into the final sector for the race lead here on the final lap. Here at Silverstone in race 2, a little bit of a move to the outside, then to the inside for Sebastian Job as Thompson gives him the room. Thompson gives him the room on the inside to try and make this one work, but he's been able to keep himself half a car length ahead on the way in towards the Vale. Side by side for the race lead as Job hangs it around the outside. Is there a move back for Thompson? Is there a move back? They're going to be side by side in towards Club Corner. He clips the curb. He clips the curb
Chadwick
and gives Sebastian Job the win as Chadwick comes through and keeps himself third place. Oh my word, what a chaotic, what a frantic end to the second race here at Silverstone in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain.
Oh, wow, what a finish. What a finish. That last corner at Silverstone, it always delivers drama, and Sebastian Job just pinches it on the last lap. Goodness me. What a run as well from Gariboli to win that AM-Class race, 9th overall. Great stuff from him. But wow, what a finish, guys.
That was crazy. It could have been even closer, you know. If Thompson didn't clip the inside curb of Club there, it might have been even closer. He might have just got it, depending on the exact set of circumstances. Let's have a look at the replay here. Job, it's so hard to hang it around the outside of the first apex of the Vale. Unbelievably difficult. And then there's the clattering of the curb. And there's Chadwick driving to the line, hoping he would be able to pick up the pieces if there were any instant there. Oh, I've got to catch my breath now, Kevin. That was crazy stuff.
That is what Porsche GB is all about right there. That was a great job by Seb to even get back to Josh after the lockup was really, really impressive. And as I said, coming onto the hangar straight, you need 2.5 tenths, and he had exactly that, and he got the overlap there into Stowe. And yeah, as Peter said, to hang it around the outside here is so tough. And to be fair, credit to Josh for even being able to get the cutback there. That was very, it's a very difficult move to do, actually. You can see Seb go defensive on the exit. He was expecting it, but on the inside there, you've just not got the space to work with, and you have to, yeah, you've got to get as close to that curb as you can. He doesn't want to tip him round and get a penalty, and his only option there was to use it as a launch pad.
Oh boy, that's we couldn't have asked for a better end to the first round of the season, let's just say that. But Sebastian Job by 1/10 of a second. It felt like 100th of a second with how those guys were racing there at the very end. Sebastian Job takes the race win from Josh Thompson, from Will Chadwick, our top 3 cars. Within 0.3 of a second at the very end of the race. Then Josh Malin comes home in 4th place with Matthew Emery P5. We've got Kane Halliburton P6 with Leon Penn P7, Eric Grove P8. Leo Gariboli finally gets himself the AM class win that was, for all intents and purposes, taken away from him in race number 1 by getting involved in a bit of an incident ahead. We've got Jamie Moon in P10. And then we have a little bit of a look further down the order. Daniel McCauley, P11, with Scott Merckx, P12. Brandon Blakesley, P13. Gareth Higgins, Luke Pennington, Jamie Rushworth rounds out the top 16. Adam Smalley, the Porsche Junior driver, in P17 with Thomas Cope, P18. Jack Cedric, P19. James Parker, P20. And then our final cars on the finishing results. Jacob Urbanchik, Ollie Peacock. Those are the, well, actually, Urbanchik's the last driver that was still running. The rest of them are retirement. So Ollie Peacock, Adam State, Lewis Ward, unfortunately not getting themselves to the checkered flag. So then, as we will continue to try and make any form of sense out of what has just happened there, we will bring things in towards the post-race show here. And I don't know what else I could really say about that, Peter. I'll be completely honest.
Well, if I can add, that was top-class motorsport, whatever way you look at it. Really good racing there between Job and Thompson. They gave each other just the millimetre of room that was required, and they raced hard to the flag. Firm, fair, and fantastic entertainment. As Kevin very rightly said, he put it best, that's what Porsche Esports Carrera Cup GB is all about.
Let's bring in a driver for one of our interviews here well, we're getting a replay of another situation that happened there. This was the AM class heading their way towards the line because we were so preoccupied with what was going on at the very front of the field. We kind of neglected to mention what was going on in AM. There's the car of Daniel McCauley heading his way through to take P2 in the AM class, with Stokes behind, with Blakesley and Higgins in that order as well. So that's what happened in the AM class there. But without further ado, we will move on, and well, we'll get ourselves an interview with William Chadwick once again. And Peter, it's another chat with the Chatters.
Oh, well, we should have had you as our camera car there, Will, because you got an absolute grandstand view of those last couple of laps. Just tell us what it was like being part of that fight for the win.
Annoying, because part of my plan, so I was thinking, I was in second, I was attacking Thompson, and I knew I could try and pass Thompson, but Sebi was coming up, so I gave it a few goes, wasn't able to make it stick, and then eventually I was defending against Sebi, and I thought I could defend against him every lap, and he'll probably get me anyway, or he might get me anyway, and I'll get P3, so I thought, let him go, see if he attacks Thompson, and my plan was to hopefully get something if them two started to have a little bit of a hard fight, and maybe get Thompson. But that wasn't to be, because I got a bump into the village, which sent me back so far onto that last lap, and it's gutting considering how far I finished back. But, you know, I'll take 2 P3s. I think it's a really good start to the season.
Yeah, I think, two podiums in a field as competitive as this, you've got to be pleased about that. I mean, looking ahead to the rest of the season, are there other tracks that you can identify? We know how quick you are at Snetterton, of course. It's the winner of the solo 12-hour there, as we like to mention. But you know, any other rounds that you've identified that you could really have a run at that top spot?
I think Ulton's going to be the main one for me. To be honest, I spent most of my week driving around in a GT3 car, which wasn't the best prep for this, but I think going into around like Ulton when I've got a bit more free time beforehand, I think I can be really competitive. But like I said, it's a really good start to the season, and I'm just happy that I managed to put it together in the races.
Final question, is Seb Job beatable for this championship?
Not probably for the championship, but in a race, definitely. I don't know, he's so good. He's so talented, but maybe not over the course of the championship, probably for races.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. Well, fantastic driving today, Will. 2 brilliant podiums. Well done, and good luck for the next round.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Will Chadwick once again. We'll have a little bit of a conversation with Josh Thompson. Josh, so close yet so far. Just take me through it, mate.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit good. You know, it's on the final lap on the final corner, pretty much. Like, it's been nice to actually get a win in the series. Like, I've been close before, but nah, end of the day, Sebi was on another level. He kind of proved why he's champion of the series and why he's always at the front in the actual World Championship. So, hats off to him for actually getting the win. There was not much more I could do. I threw everything I had at it racing-wise, so I can't really be angry at myself. There was not much more I could do. I just got to work harder for next time out.
Yeah, absolutely. You gave it a very good shot, though. That was the odds were stacked against you, and yes, you were still 1/10 of a second behind at the very end there. Just take me through the sorts of feelings that you went through, because that must have been a whole bunch of pressure on your shoulders, like in those last couple of laps.
To be honest, it wasn't too crazy. I felt worse in race 1 by far.
Okay.
Race 1 was terrible. Like for I don't know what I did. It was qualifying. I was nowhere near. In the start, I messed up the actual clutch phase, so I had to deal with that. And I got more frustrated in race 1. Race 2 felt a lot more natural. Yes, it was obviously a bit more high intensity. Like I had to keep my eye out with like Chadwick and Malin behind with racing. Obviously, the start was a bit tense. Obviously, I knew I had to be leading end of lap 1 to have a chance. That was the main goal. So once I could do that, the mid stint was pretty okay. I knew I could keep Chadwick behind, just keep him a tyre in check onto the hanger straight and out the final corner. That was the main goal. So it was unfortunate. I needed literally like Sebi to be behind Malin through Maggots and Beckett's. If Sebi didn't make that move through there, I'd probably win the race because of how close it was. And also Sebi's last lap was incredible, and I tensed up a little bit too much. So yeah, one of those roller coasters, to be honest.
Yeah, but you still get the second place point, so you can't be too disappointed with that. But we have the next race at Brands Hatch Indy. So opinions coming into that, because yes, it's our shortest circuit in the calendar, and it also kind of really only has one overtaking opportunity into Druid. So let's so opinions on that.
It should be okay. Obviously, I don't really have good memories there because I was leading when I messed up. So the one place you can't overtake, I mess up at. So let's hope I don't do that again. But yeah, you know. Thank you, Kevin. But yeah, I think it'll be good. It'll be super close. The cars are a bit tricky to race though this season, it seems so far, with the dirty air. So let's see it, Brands. It shouldn't be too much of an issue, but again, like you said, it's super hard to overtake, so it's going to be a bit more forceful.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Josh. Hopefully it won't come down to such slim margins again, and you'll be ahead at some points, but enjoy the P2, and we'll see you when we head to Brands Hatch.
Cheers, guys.
There we go. That was Josh Thompson there, P2 here in race number 2, and well, got sixth place in race number 1 as well. So a decent points haul for Josh, but yeah, race win until basically the final fraction of a second, Peter. What can you do?
Like you said, Josh, I think summed it up very well. He did everything he could. That's motorsport. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it didn't. It wasn't because of a mistake he made. He played it perfectly. It was just that Sebastian Job was really on top form today. You know, he did very well last season at Silverstone. The same again this time as well. But we've got a lot of different circuits to go to over the course of the championship as well, with very different characters. This championship is not quite as one-sided as we might think. I think we're going to have a cracking season here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain.
I think so too, and for Sebastian Job, maximum points coming out of the first race day, which is basically all he would have asked for, Kevin, here at Silverstone. We go into Brands Hatch Indy, which is a little bit more of a would you call it really a wildcard race, considering how short that track is, how chaotic that track can be? Maybe not with the overtaking opportunities, but with everyone in such a small piece of real estate.
Yeah, for sure. I think Seb will breathe a sigh of relief after that round. The first race is always the hardest one, and as you say, having the perfect day, he'll breathe a sigh of relief. He can go into Brands Hatch Indy with the goal of pole and the race 1 win. And then in race 2, as you say, with Brands, with how close quarters it is, there's not really many overtaking opportunities. He can afford to maybe finish a 3rd or a 4th. As much as he won't want to, you've got to think big picture in this series. When you've got the reverse grids, the tight tracks, and everything else, you've got to just take what you can get when you can get it. And if you've got that points lead, you've just got to manage it as best you can.
And keep the mistakes down to a minimum as well. We've seen how that influences championships in previous seasons as well. But that's going to be all that we have time for here for this first round at Silverstone for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. But on the 29th of January, we'll be heading to Brands Hatch. And not only Brands Hatch, we'll be using the Indy layout as well. It's going to be fast, it's going to be frenetic. It hopefully will be very exciting as well. But from here at Silverstone for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, we will have to end. I've been Connery Maddock. We've been joined by Peter Mackay and, of course, the 2022 winner of this series, Kevin Ellis Jr. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.